With the vote still so close in multiple states, protest groups were active in Detroit, they were active in Phoenix, and it's possible that more are coming because really dangerous individuals like Harlan Hill are tweeting things like, "I'm going to Philly tomorrow with a team. This is war." This is war, this is war. But the first shot was actually fired in the war when friend of the show, Ken Klippenstein, did what he did best, which is just show the tweet and then show the profile pic. And I think Harlan Hill was just buried. This is war, oh my God. Look, we shouldn't laugh because of course, for every Harlan Hill, there's a group of Oath Keepers or Proud Boys. And those are obviously the people that we do have to worry about. But it is a little bit funny when the threat of militia or domestic terrorist violence is also being muddied with right-wing grifters who are generally tweeting things like, "I've never had such a bad experience becoming a new customer of a company. Comcast needs to step it up. I'll blog about this tomorrow." That was the true war, the war on Comcast. But anyway, so in addition to Harlan Hill, you do, as we said, you do have the crowds. Like here's a crowd of people in Arizona. Admittedly, it's not a huge crowd, but Malaika, I just think it's funny that they are right outside a place where the votes are being counted, chanting to count the vote. They are. That's what they're doing right now. I don't understand it as a strategy. Does it make any sense to you?
Well, of course not. And I think these folks are bored. I think they saw the legitimate grievances and concerns of people who are responding to Black Lives Matter and some of the Antifa and the anti-fascist protests in Portland, and they need to come up with a grievance too. So if they're going to be protesting outside of Ben and Jerry's to open up Ben and Jerry's, or they're going to be in their golf carts to protest wearing masks, and that's what they're going to do. We're still in well, some of us are in lockdown and trying to obey some of these stay-at-home orders wherever they may be. And folks are bored. So, I think on one hand, like you said, it's somewhat entertainment, but where does it cross the line into something being more sinister than that, where now they're going to be armed and they're going to go to Black communities and go to Black precincts? I'm actually in Wisconsin right now, whereas we know in Kenosha, Wisconsin, about 45 minutes south of where I am in Milwaukee, you had somebody like Kyle Rittenhouse who wanted to protect property, and through protecting property, obviously he's saying that this takes priority over the lives of people who are protesting police violence. So, I think it's laughable, it's a joke. And we also have to be concerned about when it does cross that line into something that is more violent than that. And it speaks to a larger issue of people feeling this sense of status threat and feeling like people are taking over, even if it's white allies in Black Lives Matter protests, and they have to exert that some kind of way. And it is disconcerting that there is such a critical mass of people who do feel like this, and it's like they're in an alternate universe.
Yeah, I think you're right about the entertainment. I mean, remember the Tea Party protests supposedly over the national debt? That was a thing that they supposedly cared about, but they really just want an opportunity to dress up like our founders and lounge around in chairs and stuff. But I hope that they don't do some of the protests that you just mentioned, because if they do start protesting Ben and Jerry's, it might muddy the waters from my ongoing protests against Ben and Jerry's for canceling the cinnamon buns flavor. I will never forgive them for that.
Buns flavor?
They canceled it.
They shouldn't have canceled it. You had to protest harder. I didn't even know that was a thing.
I know, and they tried to gaslight me. I tweeted about it, and they tweeted back that they hadn't canceled it. It's in their flavor graveyard. Check your website, Ben and Jerry's, seriously. But anyway, but also I am worried. I am worried about the possibility for violence. The Oath Keepers were on Alex Jones the week before the election, saying that they were ready to start gunning people down. And let's bear in mind, as you just acknowledged, that if they do, they're not going around the country trying to block the votes of people like me, even though they should, because I'm a hardcore leftist. But no, they're going to Detroit, they're going to Philadelphia, they're probably going to be in Atlanta. It is generally Black votes that they want to see stopped. Coincidentally, they always just have a problem with these cities voting. And I am very worried that at some point it's gonna go beyond banging on the glass. If they think that Trump has lost, that it's done, I don't know exactly what they're gonna do. I know that outside of in Arizona, where we were showing that protest, supposedly the people doing the count were trying to come up with a strategy for going home after their shift because they were so worried about walking out to their cars when the place is surrounded by those crowds that could theoretically get violent. But thus far, the cops are being very nice to them. They don't seem to have a problem with those protests, which is a striking difference from some of the other protests you were talking about earlier in the show.
Yeah, I mean, we see that double standard throughout history. So of course, this is nothing new. When you look at just even peaceful civil rights protests from the 50s through 60s, you had an inordinate, disproportionate response from police authorities, law enforcement officials. And so this is the same thread. This is the same kind of alliance where you had Ku Klux Klan members who were in police departments. So it's the same sort of alliance of kind of white nationalism and far right reactionaries who are in bed with police officials, or they are themselves police officials, where they're allowing this type of behavior to occur. And a lot of Black people are already familiar with this. Anyone who's familiar with the history of policing and protests in this country is familiar with this. So I think the step for organizers is to just be prepared, to be aware that this is a possibility, that this is a threat, and then figure out a strategy how to deal with it. And as I mentioned, since I am in Milwaukee, part of my work has been shadowing organizers who are voter guardians. And so they are prepared to call up some other organizers if there needed to be a way to de-escalate violence at some of the polls. Fortunately, our polling location was calmer. The polling location that I was reporting at was calm, and there weren't any obvious threats, but there's also police surveillance of those polling locations. So they're even doing the work of some of these, the people who are overtly and explicitly associated with the reactionary right. You have police officers who are going to these polling locations where you have Black organizers and harassing them repeatedly. So, they're kind of, a lot of them are overlapping groups, and some of them are probably friends and associates.
Yeah, and we've certainly seen a ton of evidence of that. I mean, we were talking about Kenosha, that was very clear, videos very well documenting the overlap there, but we've seen it in Portland, we've seen it in a number of cities. Very scary, and as we're looking to the possibility of civil unrest, possibly violence, depending on what happens in the next couple of days, I would be very worried about that. Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.